What is up, Copy Squad? It's your boy, Kyle Milligan, coming to you live from Delray Beach, Florida. And today I want to talk about the incredible perks of becoming a good copywriter. And this message was inspired by a email, or I'd say an email, some YouTube comments, and some Facebook messages that I've received probably like the last 7 days in a row. Like I keep getting this similar sentiment or message coming to me. So I want to kind of address these awesome perks. There's a lot of perks to becoming like a great copywriter that people are very much, they're seeking. They're things that people want to get into this field for. And I kind of want to dive into a couple of them really quick. And then I want to kind of say some counterintuitive, crazy stuff that's going to blow your mind. All right. So I made a little list and then I made this little note. So this is the basic stuff, right? Like the cool perks from being a great copywriter. You can work from home or work remote. Okay, cool. So essentially, folks who are tired of the cubicle life, they don't want to be chained to the desk, they want their freedom, they want to be able to work from home. Maybe they just want more time with their family, or maybe they want to be like digital nomads and travel around. So there's that. There's passive income. There's the idea that once you write a letter, it makes money. You get royalties. You can make a lot of money if it sells a lot of product. So there's all these kinds of perks. But I think all of this is the wrong stuff to ask me about. And I think it's the wrong, and when I get these questions, I often like shut that down immediately because I can see the mindset of an amateur, but you are already like setting yourself up for failure if these are the things that you're looking for. And let me kind of just go down the points that I gave him. The first thing I said, don't get caught in the trap of looking for perks over mastering the craft. And I think, this is kind of a little bit of an ironic thing for me to say because I don't know, I could say I was trying to get into the craft when I got into copywriting because what I was trying to do was sell more of my books. I wanted to be a writer, and I got into copywriting to try to sell more novels. I'm not even about that life anymore. I actually got really, really immersed in the craft of copywriting itself, but I wanted to learn that skill. I didn't want to work from home, but essentially my journey into copywriting started with I wanted to get the skill. I wanted to get the craft. I wanted to understand how to do that so I could sell more stuff. Okay, so for me, it was a pursuit of the craft to begin with. It wasn't necessarily this whole thing like, oh, copywriting, work from home, work on Upwork or whatever that was. So I want to kind of set a general rule of thumb here for folks watching. The general rule of thumb is anytime you're looking for the result, anytime you're looking for the perks of the craft and not the craft itself, you are dooming yourself pretty much to fail. You're going to hit some bumps in the road, as every professional does in every sort of craft that you might ever attempt. And when you hit those bumps, or as Seth Godin calls it, the dip. Yeah, I have a book called The Dip in that bookshelf. Great book, really short book. I think it's like 80 pages maybe. When you hit the dip, you're going to quit because you don't really care about the craft. You just want that perk. And whenever you find that perk's hard to get and you don't really care about this craft, you're going to abandon it. And I see people jump from career to career, from hobby to hobby because they keep seeking this goal and they never care about the craft at all. So the thing that I told them was simple rule of thumb. If you go after the perks, you never get the perks. You go after the craft, the perks come. Okay. So if you can get into a mindset where you're more about practicing that craft and gaining and garnering that skill set instead of worrying about, well, will I be able to work remote? Will I be able to work from home? Will I be able to have my own hours? Will I have to work weekends? When you start asking those questions, you're not in it for the craft. You're never going to be good enough to get those perks. The next trap, that's trap number one, is trying to go after the perks, not the craft. Trap number two is overlooking, like looking at where I am now and ignoring all the stuff I had to sacrifice, ignoring like all of the trials and things I had to do to get there. If you think like, oh, well, he works from home, I want to work from home, he makes passive income, I want to make passive income, you're missing a lot of big steps. So even I had to do all that. So whoever you're looking at and whoever you're trying to follow or emulate, you should probably check out what they did in the first couple years if that's where you're starting as well, especially if you're starting from square one or square zero. So that's a good sign that you're setting yourself up for failure by trying to go into the perks and ignoring the climb and trying to go straight for the end result. Okay. So the next thing I want to talk about is if you start to, okay, so let's say you don't have to, I'm not saying you have to give up everything. I'm not saying quit your job, start moving somewhere or go do this or sacrifice everything. What I'm saying is you need to find a way to get yourself immersed in the craft that works for you and your lifestyle. And I think that's really important too, in that this is a great test, because if you find that you are not driven to get immersed in the craft, you can't make time, you don't find it enjoyable, or you get bored, well, then that just saved you a lot of pain and heartache because you're not really in it for the craft to begin with, and you were setting yourself up for failure. So that's like an easy little test, an easy little bet to make, like practice the craft. Just try that. Like, same thing with copywriting. If you can't find yourself like analyzing sales letters, sales copy, sitting down and putting fingers to keys or thinking up ideas and writing down the ideas or doing the 3 steps that I preach every day, read some copy, write some copy, and come up with an idea. Like, if you can't get yourself immersed in that world, then you go ahead and save yourself in trouble and don't do that. Go away. Like, don't go into that world. Try to do something that draws you into it like that. Okay. Then I want to talk about CRAFTSMAN. Let's talk about some CRAFTSMAN really quick. So we talked about the 2 traps, right? Going for perks instead of the craft. Okay. Trap number 2 is ignoring the people's climbs who got to where they are that you're trying to, get to where they are. So that don't miss the climb. So those are 2 traps. Let's talk about CRAFTSMAN and winner take all. So a lot of these ideas you can find these really well laid out in this book called So Good They Can't Ignore You by Cal Newport. Same dude that wrote the book Deep Work, which I'm obsessed with. So I went back and read his other book, So Good They Can't Ignore You. And basically he explains all the stuff that I'm talking about, tackling the craft, getting a craftsman mindset. He calls that career capital. Now, to get to this point where you make passive income and you can call your own shots and you can work from home and you can tell the boss to F off, well, you have to have career capital built up so you can trade that in. You cash that in, you get to call the shots. You basically trade career capital in for control over your life. But a lot of people are going straight for control with no career capital and ending up in the food stamps line. Okay, so good book on that. So Good They Can't Ignore You. Now let's talk about a couple craftsmen. And these are guys who basically made it and then they kept going. So first, we can look at like copywriting, like musicians. There's M&Ms and there's SoundCloud rappers in the world of copywriting, right? Like, and when I say M&Ms, there's only one M&M, right? Okay, I can tell you the name of a guy right now who is making like 10 times more than every other copywriter. He was the guy who taught me how copywriting works. His name's Evaldo, and he's basically the M&M of the industry right now. Like, I don't think anyone else is doing nearly as much volume or sales as this guy. And he's a true craftsman. If he wanted to just make a couple bucks and quit, he could have quit. All right. So in that same realm, there's M&M and there's SoundCloud rappers, right? You want to be a musician, you'll be a star, you want to go on tour, but you don't sit down and practice the craft. You don't write out song after song. You don't get better and study and build your skill set. Then you're going to be a SoundCloud rapper forever. Okay. A lot of people who don't want to gather career capital, and they'll email me. And the question always goes very much like this. Do you think, all right, so it'll start with like an introduction of what they've been doing. I've been a medical tech for the last 6 years, or I don't know, I've been a nurse, or I've done this or done that. Now I want more time with my family and friends, a noble pursuit. And they'll say, do you think I could make a good living as a copywriter and work from home and replace this income and do this and do that and do this? And they haven't mentioned, have they ever like tried to write copy, taken a job, what they're up to right now to get going in that craft? It's right. Okay, can I just stop doing all the hard stuff in my life and replace it with this much easier and much more lucrative stuff? And again, you're setting yourself up for like a world of hurt if you approach it with that mindset instead of approaching like, man, if it's more like, man, I saw one of your YouTube channels, I saw you break down one of those sales letters and I was hooked. I've been breaking down sales letters left and right. I'm wondering like, how can something about getting deeper into copy, that's a guy or a girl who like, okay, you're going to do well. Because one of the cool things, like when I answered someone recently, can you make a good living if you work really hard? Yes. Like all you have to do is become a good copywriter. And as he says, and as Cal Newport says, and So Good They Can't Ignore You, you basically can have all the control in the world you want if your skills are rare and valuable. Okay. Good copywriters, especially in the financial niche, there are probably like 100 in the world, like really good copywriters in that specific financial niche. And then there's probably a lot of like mediocre, and then it just probably plummets. But I'm talking like really good, like consistently performing like professionals. You're probably in like a pool of 100 if you get there, right? Now you're rare and valuable, i.e. you're going to be in demand. And once you're in demand, you can kind of call the shots a little bit, right? But I mean, the question is like, if I work hard, can I make it, or can I do? Yes, of course, absolutely. But you can't skip straight to the part where you're like, oh, I want to work from home and be remote, and I don't want to do my job anymore, right? If you're interested in mastering the craft, this is where I help people hone their skills. KyleWriter.com/squad. It's the Copy Squad Inner Circle. I help aspiring copywriters get better. Thanks so much for tuning in. Peace out, Copy Squad.